Rachel's in Lambeth. Rachel.
Hello.
Hello.
So I come from the perspective of being trans inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
I am appalled by women who say that they're speaking for me, then they can say, nobody's listening to women, we're speaking up for women, because they're not speaking for me.
Mm-hmm.
They're not speaking for a huge proportion of cisgendered women, and they're certainly not speaking for trans women. Caitlyn Jenner, she's an outlier. I can't pronounce the words properly.
She's a trans woman who believes that trans women should not be allowed to compete in female sport.
But you do get black people who are racist. You do get trans women who are transphobic.
Caitlyn Jenner is, as a trans woman, transphobic.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Because she believes that trans women should not partake in female sport.
Because she believes that there should be a separate subcategory
It's not sub.
of women.
No one suggested
which
sub.
is trans women as one word as opposed to two words, trans being the adjective and women being the noun.
Rachel, what's your definition of a trans woman?
A trans woman, oh gosh, trans is an umbrella term. Trans, it can be inclusive of many genders.
So what's a trans woman?
But a trans woman is a binary. Actually, if I think about it, trans woman is a binary.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody who's I wouldn't use the term ever biologically male. The correct term is assigned male at birth.
Assigned by who?
A doctor. So a doctor, when you're born, looks at your genitalia and assigns your gender. And this is really rudimentary stuff.
So the doctor got it wrong, is what you're saying. A trans woman is a person
so gender is something that we experience as opposed to what lies between my legs.
Yes, that's the difference between sex and gender.
Yeah. So assigned male at birth is a doctor looks at somebody's bits and assigns them male at birth and puts that onto their birth certificate. So that's the correct term to use as opposed to biologically male.
Why? But some people, people are biologically male, female, or intersex.
No.
Rachel, do you think that there are biological differences between a man and a woman?
I think that we can. I'm going to struggle a little bit here because I'm a little bit.
You don't need to. You really, really don't need to struggle. I promise it's easy.
I think there's differences which I think that we can assume some basic differences, but if somebody says actually that's not me, I listen to the person. If that makes sense.
I'm not going to. I agree. Rachel, let's start with a point of agreement. I agree that gender is fluid. I agree that what it means to be male is not bound up in how much lager you drink or whether you like football, and nor is what it means to be.
What between your legs.
See, now we've got a difference here because cultural, educational, societal gender is fluid. Biologically, there are immutable differences between men and women, aren't there? In the way that a woman, someone who's born a woman, can have a child in the way that I can't.
I think for most people, yeah. But for a proportion of our society, no. And just because I'm cis.
But what is the evidence for that?
And just because I don't experience, and you don't experience, an incongruence, I think that's the right word, between, just because I don't experience is incongruence the right word? Like, between my sex and my gender, doesn't mean that another person can't, just because you don't experience it.
So again, I come back to the question of, what do you define a woman as? Thank you.
Somebody who identifies as a woman.
How does somebody identify? What identifies a woman?
Because they'll tell me.
So anybody who tells you they are a woman is a woman?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No skin off my nose. I've got nothing to lose from it. So yeah. I mean, why not?
So a person who has biologically different makeup to a adult human female, a penis, if they tell you that they're a woman...
Adult human female. Okay, go on.
If they tell you that they're a woman, that's what they are, biologically and legally.
Yeah, it doesn't really bother me.
Can you see how that's a problem?
No, I don't.
Can you see how that might be a problem for, say, female... Hang on a sec. Can you see how that might be a problem for female-only spaces in which this peer, Lady Nicholson, describes a woman in a women's-only ward being raped by somebody who says that they're a woman when they've got a penis?
Okay, so what happened to the women in the ward? Awful. But let's live in the real world.
I'm trying.
That happens all of the time. Most of the times that happens behind closed doors in domestic situations. Most of the time that happens, it never gets reported to the police. Most of the time that happens, even if it is reported to the police, it doesn't achieve a prosecution.
This is absolutely not the point.
Now, just because, but we don't hear about all of those times. It happens in prisons, male prisons, so much that people make jokes about male rape in prisons.
So we're trying to stop. We're trying to stop rape, aren't we?
So I'm trying to. And what I don't quite understand is the publicity that this one case has achieved, next to the zero publicity that, like, all of the other cases.
But Rachel, you don't have an answer to it. I'm really sorry, but you don't have an answer, or at least if your answer is anybody who tells you what their gender is or their sex is that
I think
sex?
Risk assessments need to be done. Yeah, if we're talking about like women-only prisons, and they're pretty much already done.
Okay, Rachel, thank you. I've got no skin in this game. I really don't. I'm not a woman. I'm not trans. It honestly makes me so angry. It makes me so angry that we've got ourselves into this mess, and it is a mess because the rights of women are now in direct conflict with the rights of people to say, "Treat me as I say I am." And the law has followed those people to an extent on this. The law describes trans women as women. So people are right to say legally that a trans woman is a woman. But what is the law defining if not biological differences?